Hey everybody, here I am with Stephen Burns. Do some
Hey, everybody.
Photoshop
Hello.
magic today, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how you been, Stephen? Good?
Oh my gosh, I've been busy as heck. So
Nice. Yeah,
we're
November was a
working on,
great month too for
oh
me.
yeah, working on some interesting projects and looking forward to sharing with all of your wonderful members.
That's right. So let's see. Let me let people know that welcome. Where are you watching from? Let us know. Let's build up
Well,
attendance before we go live. There we go.
so we're not live.
Well, I mean live in the presentation, but
Ah,
so we have someone. Hi, Andrew and Stefan from a cold, wet UK.
hey, hello.
So let me remind everyone to please give StreamYard permission to show your name and profile pic. So I'll be able to credit you when you comment or ask questions. You'll see that under the live recording, StreamYard.com/Facebook. Just give that a click.
I would love to hear where everybody's coming from. I'm from San Diego, California. It's the place where pretty much the weather anywhere else in the world sucks.
Pretty warm there now. Pretty
Yeah,
warm.
it's pretty nice. It's pretty
Excellent.
nice right now.
It's been a little cold here in Los Angeles lately, but yeah, San Diego is nice. I remember that trip to La Jolla was quite beautiful. So
Oh, La Jolla is always beautiful. The water is always cold there too.
you jump in the water?
I've done a couple of times. It's a little colder there.
Is it clean? Is it clean
It's
enough?
it's very clean. Go up to
Yeah.
go up to the Torrey Pines area. The water is a little bit
Oh, yeah.
warmer.
That's a famous golf course too, as well, right?
Yeah, right below the golf course.
I think I went there with my mom for lunch one day too. Went to their little cafe.
Oh
Torrey Pine.
yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Andrew Nichols from the UK says it's been snowing in the UK. Very
Oh wow.
different from California weather.
Oh yeah. Very different. I used to live in Chicago, so I understand.
Harsh winters there.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. We used to go to Lake Michigan in the wintertime to go to the John G. Shedd aquarium
Mm.
and the Museum of Science and Industry. And the wind coming off the ocean during the wintertime, the wind chill factor was just inhuman.
Yeah, Andrew says he had, I guess, 2 millimeters, and then everything stopped.
Huh.
Snow. Okay.
And it's been snowing in the UK. Okay.
So yeah, anyone just arriving, let us know where you're watching from. So far, we only had Andrew as the viewer. Now there's about 4 people watching.
Okay.
Come on in. Don't be shy. Okay. In about a minute. So yeah, in the UK, it stopped snowing. I wish we got more rain in Los Angeles. Does San Diego get good
You
rain?
know what? San Diego is affected by the whole global warming thing too. So
Yeah.
not as much rain. We need more rain, pretty bad.
Yeah. Sure.
Las Vegas needs it even worse.
Yeah, and that was very humid and hot when I went to
Yeah,
Photoshop World.
Lake Mead is like diminishing.
Wow. Okay, a few seconds away, and I'll have you introduce yourself. Let us know what you've been up to, and then we'll jump over to Photoshop. So, Stephen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I would be happy to. Well, thank you, Andrew, for having me. Thank you all for being here. I'm Stephen Burns. I'm going to give you my website, and Andrew's going to post it as well. Chromeillusion.com, right there in front of you. So if you feel that I know anything about what I'm doing here, then you're welcome to join me. Later on, actually next year for some of the workshops that I do. Just click on the workshops links up here, and you get to kind of preview them yourself. I'm going to share with you some of the artwork that I do in my galleries, and I'm a digital artist. I'm an author. In fact, let me share with you my books first. So here's some of the books, DVDs, and articles. Let's go here to the books. I've written about 8 books so far on just the subject of digital artistry. And I've designed every chapter in all of my books so that you're actually creating something kind of cool from scratch. Um, let's see. You can have you. I'm looking at people's questions here. Um,
Mute.
all right.
So Andrew Nichols says he watches your stuff already. Cool.
Oh, good.
I'm
Thank
a
you.
supporter here.
Oh, great.
And all
So
your books are available for purchase, correct?
yeah, for on Amazon.
Good. Nice.
Yeah, all available for purchase on Amazon. And then just come and just check it out on your free time. Look at the various galleries here and kind of take a look at some of the artwork that I do. I'm also very involved in 3D design as well, especially Blender, and of course that's for a whole nother discussion. Um, but today I figure I'll do something a little bit different. Um, since we only have an hour, I want to do something that will be fairly quick and fairly fast. So the whole idea is building something, going beyond the camera and building something different. And I'm going to create this particular scene. And let's see, let's go to my layers here. I'm going to kind of scroll through the layers and let you kind of take a look here of how it's all put together. But basically, I'm going to start with this image right there. So I shot this image up in Cannon Beach, up north in the northern United States. So I think that's Oregon, and beautiful, beautiful place. But it had these gigantic rock formations coming out of the ocean, right near the shores there. So it's a fabulous place to kind of stroll and take pictures. And I figured I'm going to use this to build something a little different, kind of go beyond what the camera saw and build something like this. And then we'll go step by step. So I think that's something we're going to be able to do within the hour time. And if you guys have
and Stephen, we can go a little bit beyond that, of course. So
okay, no worries. Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you, Andrew.
sure.
Um, and if you guys have any questions at all during the presentation, ask them because I love the dialogue, while I'm working between you and I. Okay, so let's go have some fun. So let's go open this up. Let me go back and I'm hitting the F key on the keyboard, which toggles between my various window modes in Photoshop. And let me kind of pull this out there. There we go. And we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and just close that out right there, right? Because I don't want that in my way visually. So we're going to start creating from the raw image, the JPEG image, shot, as I mentioned, from Cannon Beach. And I'm going to save that one and then close that out. All right, there we go. Hit the F key to go to full frame mode. So it allows me to kind of click and hold with the space bar to move my image around. So let's have some fun. I'm thinking of, I'm going to create this stone structure that's going to recede back into the background. And we're going to be using the concept of atmospheric depth. Okay. And I'm going to start with probably some ocean view from the bottom, and we're going to build the structures coming out of the water. And then we're going to give them all some atmospheric depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the water here. I'm going to go ahead and grab a selection tool, the rectangular selection tool, and just grab that piece of water just like that. Hit Command or Control J, right? So it's going to duplicate what's inside the selection. I'm also going to just duplicate my background layer just as a smart way of working. So if I go here and we close everything down, okay, that's going to be my beginning layer right there. I'm going to take this, hit the V key for the move tool, holding the shift key to kind of constrain the direction of the movement and just place it right about here. I'm going to move this up a little bit. So Command T or free transform, edit, free transform, Command T. So remember, on the right hand side of all, you get to see the shortcuts. Once you've learned something new in terms of a shortcut, make sure you always use it or else you're going to forget it. All right, so shift, I'm going to bring it up just a little bit more and we're going to go there. Okay, so now we're going to start building the structures coming out of the water. So let's go and hold the Alt Option key and click on the eyeball. That brings everything back. Alt Option, click on the eyeball of that layer, and it only shows everything on that one layer. A nice little tip in case you weren't aware of that. Next, let's go over here and let's turn on this layer. Let's select this object here. It's like this very large stone just kind of jetting out of the ocean. And I'm going to come right over here to the second tool down on the right hand side. I like working in the double layer. By default, Photoshop has a single layer option. I like working on the double layer option so that I can easily track these. And while we're doing our presentation, I'm going to be drinking water quite a bit, so we got to stay hydrated. And I definitely want to stay hydrated because I did get my booster vaccination from Moderna yesterday. And Andrew says, stay vaccinated. Not vaccinated, but stay hydrated. That's right, stay hydrated.
You don't want those side effects, you know.
No, not at all. So far, it's good to go. I mean, no big deal. But
great.
I'm going to select the right layer. That's the layer that my stone is in. I'm going to come right over here, second layer down on the right-hand side. I'm going to grab the Object Selection tool. And this is one of the newer selection tools that Adobe has given us. And it just looks at the object and just does it for you. It just saves you a lot of time. So I'm going to basically tell Photoshop to tell the selections to kind of crop in a little bit more into the image, because I don't want any of that blue sky around the edges of that stone when I'm creating. So I'm going to my select menu. Why? Because we're going to modify a selection. Select, modify, and we're going to go over here to contract. I'm going to tell it to contract by about let's say 2 pixels, and click OK. All right. So what we've done, if we're getting close, we've just went 2 pixels inside of our subject. Okay. So once done, Command or Control J, the shortcut for duplicate the layer. In this case, because we have a selection, it duplicated what's inside the selection. Now let's go ahead and just turn that bottom one off real quick. And I'm going to use this particular piece to start creating my structure. Now, I'm going to be in the habit of resizing things on a regular basis. And I want to make sure that I maintain all that pixel information that I currently have. So now, if you notice, utilizing this object section tool, Photoshop or Adobe has given us this new feature where it highlights it when you use your mouse over everything, whatever is on that layer that's selected, it highlights areas that it thinks you might want to mask out. Okay. Some of you may find this ideal. I personally find it annoying because I know what I want to mask out already, and these highlights just becomes annoying to me. So that you can turn those off if you want to, right? I believe that's up here in the menu, Object Finder. I think that is right about there. And if I actually turn that off, it doesn't come on. All right. So I don't need that on anymore. So I'm gonna hit my move tool. I'm gonna go to my layer, right click on the right hand side of the layer, and I'm gonna make that a smart object because I want to work non-destructively. Okay, so let's start building our composition. All right, so the whole idea is I'm going to create this repetition of stone going further and further and further back into the background. So Command T for free transform. I'm going to just make it larger like so. Bring it on over to the side just like so. I think what I'll do is I'll bring it up a little bit larger, put it right about to the side, and then take the cursor, put it outside the box so that I can rotate it. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it something like this. And I'm going to bring it over right about there. And I can make it larger too, right? Because this is going to be closer to the foreground, and something like that. Okay. All right. Now, here's where the fun begins. The stone is underneath this water structure here, right? So I'm going to want it on top of it. So I'm going to take it, place it right on top of the layer of the water, because I want to be able to tell Photoshop exactly where I want this piece to sit on top of the water. And I wanted to probably come down about halfway through. So if I kind of get in closer, I'm going to take it about halfway through, let it sit right about here. And then as I start to add the other ones to the water, I'll start to bring them up a little bit to give it a sense of repetitive shapes receding to the background. So I'm gonna give this a mask, right? Because I want to be able to tell Photoshop what to keep and what to discard creatively. So I'm gonna come down here in the bottom, third icon from the left. It's my masking. There's my white mask. Now I'm using a Wacom pen, right? I'm working on a Wacom Cintiq. In fact, I'm going to take the camera off me and just show you real quick the Cintiq monitor that I'm working on. So I'm actually drawing and painting directly on the monitor. Okay, let's bring the camera back up and bring it back. There we go. All right, so I'm actually drawing and painting directly on the monitor itself. That gives me a lot more flexibility when in creating. All right, so let's go have some fun. Hit the B key for my brush tool. I want to tell it what I want. I want it to have a different brush. I'm going to right click while I'm in the brush tool. If I right click on my desktop, it gives me my brush panel. Now I've created a brush using the chalk brush in Photoshop, and I'm going to target it. Now if I come up here, third icon from the left on my properties panels for my brush, if I click it, I get my brush settings. And what I've done is I've taken this brush and told it to apply the pen tilt. So pen tilt, and I'm going to kind of show you on with my stylus here. Pen tilt is this technique. It's moving the pen, at an angle with the nib being stationary. Okay. And what that does is it allows me to rotate my brush, as you can see here. So I'm going to make the brush bigger. I'm going to rotate my brush accordingly. That gives me some flexibility on how to actually mask things in various directions. So that's the pen I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. So I don't need that's in the way. I'm going to edit the mask here because I want to decide to tell it to actually restrict this visual information halfway up. And I'm moving the brush right about there. There we go. Okay. Okay, that works. I'm going to give the brush down a little bit. I'm going to make it look like the water is kind of coming inside, just working with the perspective of my brush here. Okay. I think that works that'll be just fine. All right, so we're going to add another structure here. We're going to add one right next to it. I'm going to keep that repetition, that concept of repetition going. And let's duplicate the layer. So we're going to pretty much create this whole project based off of one photograph, right? So I'm going to take that one photograph that I took of Cannon Beach, and I'm going to alter it into something a lot more imaginative. Okay. So Command or Control J, we're going to duplicate this layer, hit the V key for the move tool. Okay. Now it has a mask automatically attached to it. No big deal. I'm going to make sure that layer is targeted, and we're going to bring it on over. I'm going to bring it over to the side a little bit. Now I'm going to also take this and put it underneath the bigger one. And I'm going to start playing with a different portion of the image because I don't want it to look like I'm using the same image. No, to repeat this, it can be obvious, right? So I'm going to change it a little bit. So I think what I'll do is I'll kind of pull this out. Let's see, let's go Command T. I'm going to resize downward. I'm holding down the space bar in Command or Control, and left click and drag gives you that smooth transition, sizing transition. Now, if I hold down the Alt key, I can, you know, transform this. I'm gonna hold down Alt and I'm gonna hold down Shift. Alt is the command for resizing from the center. So if I take this center point and put it right about, drag it right about there, okay, and I'm making it smaller so it gives me some room to move when I transform this. So Alt and Shift breaks the transformation, but I can actually start changing the look and feel of this piece. And I think what I would do also is kind of bring it out just a little bit right about there. Okay. And I might just go ahead and give it a slight little angle too. All right, I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard. My composition is a little bit it's too narrow going from left to right than I like. So I'm going to change it. Hit the C key for the crop tool. And I'm going to add a little extra dimension right over here to the side to give it more of that cinematic point of view. And click enter, and there we go. So in addition, I'm going to have to go to my water. I'm going to rename this later. I'm going to call this one water. Rename that layer, and I'm going to keep the other ones as is. So I'm going to target that one, and if I want to, right click.
Stephen,
Yes, sir.
can you just zoom in a bit so people can see the details more of the image you're working on?
Absolutely,
Yep.
be happy to. There we go.
Yeah, it looks better.
There we go.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So I'm going to go to Command T, hold the Shift key down, which breaks it, because if without Shift, it's going to, constrain the proportions of my water, and I don't want to do that. I want to just bring it all the way over. There we go. That's it. So now that's what I'm looking for. Okay, now we're going to make take the layer mask that one is on, and we're going to edit that. So let's get in closer. Okay. And I'm going to hit the B key for the brush. I'm going to use that same brush. I'm going to make sure I'm in the right layer, of course. And I'm going to take out all the visual information underneath this. So pull this out using my brush, using my paint, kind of bringing it up a little higher, right about there. Okay. So I may even want to consider making the water just a little bit taller. So Command T. I'm just kind of making a quick snap judgment here. Give the water a little bit more height. There we go. Because I'm going to want to add more detail, more layers. Now, if the other one, the one on the bottom or the one on the top, which is this one here, I might want to bring down a little bit. So with my brush selected and with the mask selected, right? Targeting that mask. And I'm going to make sure hit the B key to make sure my brush is selected. There we go. We can hit the X key to switch to my foreground and background, right? And I'm going to just pull that back in a little bit. There we go. Pull it back in just a little bit lower. There we go. That works. All right, let's make another one. So let's duplicate this bottom layer, Command J. Actually, before I do so, let's make some alterations, guys. Let's make some alterations. Let's change this second one up a little bit more. That's a little bit too smooth on the side, so I want to change that up just a little bit. So I'm gonna come over here, access the mask, hit the X key for my brush, and or to change the black to the foreground color. So X key is changing the foreground and background color, and I'm going to go ahead and start etching in here, right? Start changing this up a little bit. So I think I'm going to pull this on up, give this a different look and feel. There we go. I'm going to etch on up here in the top. Maybe we'll bring some little nodules out here. Maybe this will come out like so. And just play with this. So I'm pressing down hard using my walking pen, all right, so I can, etch this away definitively. So So I'm going to kind of pull this on up like so, add some little notches in here because stone isn't smooth. Well, most stone isn't smooth. And that would kind of giving us a little bit of a different look. Okay, so I'm changing that look up a little bit. I think what I'll do, I will also take this one and just pull it out, hit the V key, and I'm going to pull it out a little bit right about there. Okay, now let's go play and have some more fun. In fact, before I go play some more, I'm going to get in close. And I think what I'll do is with that B key for the brush selected, I'm just going to kind of smooth that down, take a little more, couple of notches out of here, make it look a little more irregular. Okay, that'll work. All right, we're going to do another one. I'm going to duplicate this one again, Command J, go to the one that's on the very bottom. I double clicked on it accidentally and it went back to the original image that makes up the smart object. I'm going to hit Command W just to close it up so I don't need it. V key on the keyboard, pull this on out. All right, and let's change this up a little bit. Let's go to Command T. I'm going to rotate it like this, pull it on down. Do something like that. I think that's going to work. Okay. Now, it doesn't look like anything yet, but it will. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the mask, edit the mask once again, hit the B key for the brush, make the brush a lot bigger. So if you don't know, on the PC is Alt right click will resize your brush left to right. Matter of fact, let me show it to you from the standard brush option. Right click on the menu. I'm going to go to my standard circular brush right there. So Alt right click on the PC. On the Mac is Control Option left click right to left. All right. If I go down hard, up soft, down hard, up soft, right to left, resizes your brush. That's a nice little shortcut to have. Andrea, welcome. Hi, great to see you here. I am here. It's wonderful to see you. So we got Andrea, we got Andrew, and anybody else. You're welcome to chime in and say hello. All right, so what did I do here? I just basically duplicated, resized it. Now I'm going to edit this a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the brush that I was using. It's that nice little charcoal brush. I'm going to select it right down here at the bottom. I right-clicked. It opened up my brush menu. I click on the brush that I want. Click anywhere else. It goes away. I think most of us know that. And I'm going to edit this. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to just bring this down like this and just start playing, right? Start etching stuff away. Okay, maybe what I'll do is, let's see, kind of pull that on in a little bit. Do this here. And I'm going to just hit the X key, get in closer. All right. And with the X key, I can bring things back. All right, maybe I'll kind of just bring it across like so. And X to go to black, kind of etch in a little bit. And then maybe X again to go to white and kind of pull this on out. All right, so I'm just using my imagination. Just using my imagination. Hit the X key to paint harder to make sure I paint out all that extra stuff around the outside. Using my, so I see I'm rotating my pen as I make it larger. I'm constantly rotating this around to get the, just to play with the look that I think I'm trying to accomplish here. Okay. All right. I think that will work. In fact, I want to kind of bring this down like this. Hit the X key. I think I'm going to pull this on over just a bit, bring this on down. That's going to work. Doesn't look like much yet, but it will. So I'm going to edit this as well from the bottom. So hit the X key for to paint with black on the mask and bring that up. Okay, we're going further in the background, so we're bringing that up. Okay, so I'm just using the rules of perspective, right? To fool the eye to think that there's depth back there, and there really isn't. All right, now we're going to do one more big one. So let's see. Maybe what I'll do is go grab that that original one from the top, Command J. I'm going to pull this one underneath. Okay, hit the V key, pull it on over like that. And let me see, if I hit the Command T, I'm going to play with this. I'm going to pull it back just so I have some room to rotate here. I'll pull it back later. So I'm thinking I'm going to see what this looks like. Yeah, I think that works just like this. I might make a little bit of an edit, but this I think will work kind of nice. Let me bring it up this way. Yeah, I think that works just like that. Okay. All right, bring it in close. Edit that mask. Hit the B key from our brush, and again, get rid of all that stone structure here. I want to go further back. So rotating the brush. So this is going to come way back there. Okay. There we go. I'm going to bring this back down, hit the X key, get in closer. Now, it's easier for me to draw diagonally into my body. So I'm going to hold down the R key and rotate my canvas. And then when I release the R key, it automatically snaps back to my brush again. So bring the brush down, and I'm going to, using white, I'm going to just pull this back down to cover up the water there. That's about where I want it to be. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Hold the R key down again, hit the reset value. That'll set it back, Command 0. Okay, let's take a look at this one, F key. All right, no depth here, not yet. Not yet. So let's put a sky back there. Basically, it's going to be all overcast, a bright, overcast, warm type of environment. So let's bring in, I'm going to go behind the water. I'm going to add in an adjustment layer of a solid color, just like this. I think that might work. I might want to make it brighter, something like, I think that works right about there. We'll keep it like this. So that's the atmospheric environment that we're going to match. You're going to see what I mean in just a moment. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I am going to start, let's go, we got the foreground. Okay, let's kind of get in close. Foreground, going deeper. All right, we've got this here. Let's go turn that on. And we've got this one right over here. So we're going to start adding some atmospheric depth. So anything that's coming close to us, it's going to take on absolute contrast, right? Detail and contrast. So I'm going to need to modify this just a little bit. So if I go to, let's start with the one in the foreground here. I'm going to modify this. I'm going to modify this by going to Adobe Camera Raw. And it's a filter. You can either go to the plugins, add the plugins, but the filter, and go to ACR, Adobe Camera Raw, or Shift Command or Control A. I'm going to use a shortcut that I'm so familiar with. And wrong shortcut, A. And I've got the hourglass there, and there is my my Adobe Camera Raw. So what I want to do is I want to edit this so I get a lot more snappy contrast from this. So I'm going to start by going to my shadows, bringing out up the shadows. Why? Because I'm trying to pull some detail in these mid-tone areas of the rock. What I'm going to do next is I'm probably going to, let me bring up the highlights just a little bit. There we go. Add a little more contrast there. Next, I'm going to go to my dehaze If I go to the left, it's going to haze it up. I want to dehaze it to give it nice, sharper detail, clarity, and then texture to sharpen up even more. So if I get in closer, you get to see I'm improving upon the detail of this particular piece. Now I'm going to click OK, and we're going to move very quickly here. There we go. So the next thing we're going to do is we don't care about detail on the rest because they're going to take on atmospheric haze. So if I target this, the second one, okay, let's get in close, and that's going to be that one there. I'm going to double click on the right hand side, and I'm going to add a layer styles to this. And the layer styles is going to be a color overlay. Well, what color overlay do I want to give it? I want it to match my atmospheric color in the background here. So if I click on the color swatch, I get an eyedropper by default. If I click right back here, that's going to start to haze, start to add the haze in there, right? So how much haze? I'm going to play with this, right? So maybe just a little bit of haze, maybe something like this. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to click OK. Now we're going to go to the next one. Since I've already applied that same haze to the one I've just finished applying a color overlay, hold the Alt or Option key on the effects panel and just drag it down to the next one, and it automatically applies it. But the problem here is that the haze is still the same as the other. It's not applying any depth. So we're going to create that depth with the color overlay. Double click on the color overlay, and I'm going to add more. Oops, that's the wrong one. So that's not the one that I want. So I was in the wrong layer. So I'm going to grab that one here, the one right below it. Double click on the color overlay, and let's add a little more depth to it. All right. So it looks kind of funny now because the back one hasn't been applied. Have no haze to that one. So now take this color effect, Alt or Option, drag it on to the last structure. Right. And we have to give it even more of a haze. So double click on it and add more of a color fill so it actually starts to fade into the back. All right. So you're starting to see things are starting to give you that sense of depth from foreground to background. In fact, the back one I really want to be even more hazed up. I want you to be able to barely see it back there. Okay. And we're going to add more detail in just a moment. So now we're going to start adding that layer of fog that's going to come right across there, right? So you got a lower layer of fog that's going to come right across. I've created a fog brush already. In fact, I want that fog to sit on top of all my layers. I'm going to hit Command Shift S so I can save as. I'm going to put this in the tutorial image, and I'm going to call this one Final Tutorial, because if I accidentally crash Photoshop, I'm going to be pretty upset that I put all this work into it and then all of a sudden this just crashes on me. Thank you, Andrea. Andrea says it looks already amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it. There you go. So there you are. So that's saved. Now, let's give it some haze. So I've created a brush. I'm at the B key on the keyboard. Let's hit Command 0 to kind of pop this to full view. Okay. And I'm going to create a brush. Or I've already created the brush. So hit the B key on the keyboard, which I've already done. I'm going to add a new layer on top of everything. Brand new, spanking new layer. This layer, if I right click on it, actually I'm in the wrong tool. I'm not in the brush tool. I'm in, there we go. Now I'm in the brush tool. If I right click, I have all these additional brushes here. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to start with something that's going to be a combination of white and that yellow background color. So right click on here, and I've got a brush. It should be, because I just saw it, it's right up here. It's a circular brush. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to show you what the properties are. I'm going to click anywhere and make it go away. Go to my brush properties, and you can see what it's going to do. This is my fog and cloud and smoke brush. So what I've done is I told it to just change the size over the length of the stroke. That is what the size jitter is. And you can see it's a check mark next to it. Under scatter, I can scatter this more or less, you know, you just kind of play with that. And then under transfer, I told it to use pin pressure for both opacity and flow. So I can control the opacity of my touch. The last thing I'm going to want to do is color dynamics. If I click on color dynamics, I can tell it to utilize both my foreground and background color together. The foreground color is this nice warm yellow, which is matching my background, but I want the background color to be white. So I want to mix the two together. And that's what color dynamics is going to do. It's going to mix the two colors together to make it look more natural. Once I've actually created that new brush, so Andrew Nicholas says that he can use the techniques like this in his work. Absolutely, he can. Oh, absolutely. And it's a lot of applications: making clouds, making haze, making fog, um, making rocket ship, smoke and fire. This applies to all that. But once I make the brush or make adjustments to the brush, I'm going to want to save that brush. If I don't, I'm going to lose it. So if I target new brush, and I'm going to just click OK. You can call it whatever you want. Where did that brush go? If I right click, it's always the very last brush. Always. So now I'm going to take it, make my brush about so big. I'm going to make kind of like a big ass brush. I like to tell my students, and I'm going to be very soft and very gentle. Just bring the haze. Now I'm going to make foreground color white. That's going to be my dominating color. And I'm going to bring it across. There we go. We're going to bring it across and do an overall haze back here. The foreground's going to haze up. And I want to pull this to the side so you can see the effect. So I'm putting a little bit of a haze overall. Okay. And I'm going to I'm going to make the brush smaller now because I want an even lower level haze. And I'm going to press a little harder right in here. All right. And if you want to, you can take that and Gaussian blur it, right? Soften it up. So filter, blur. Let's go to a Gaussian blur. See that? You may not want it that much. I want a little bit of texture to my fog. I'm going to just fog it up just about there. Okay, and I'm going to add another little layer of small fog. I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger as I get forward and start to haze this up. And I'm going to go haze this up right here, particularly in these areas. All right, so I can change this brush up too if I want my fog to have a lot more character. So if I right click on here, I have another brush right there utilizing doing the same thing as the last brush did, but I put the chalk brush. You can see it right there. So now when I lay this down, I'll make the brush a little bit bigger. See, it adds some texture to it, right on top of that. Go to the foreground, add a little more. See that? It's kind of nice. Now we have some lower level falls that's coming in between these. So I'm going to have to create another layer. Let's go. That's the layer I want. And I want some fog coming in between this front layer and this back one here, right? So that'll be this one and this one. I'm going to make a new layer in between the two. And then I'm going to hit the B key for the brush. And I'm going to just gently bring it down right through there. Now I can hit the X key to go to yellow on dominating and then bring it on top of that. See that? How the two blend together? In fact, if I go back up to the top one and utilize that same brush just to add a little bit of warmth in here, it starts to match the atmospheric, color everywhere. Okay, so now I need to make this stronger and darker in the foreground. And I'm going to do one other thing too. I'm going to add another layer in between this front one and that second one. So I'm going to target that one, add one more layer through there. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that haze coming up high in between these rocks coming on down. Okay. All right. Let's see. I want to take this stone further down atmospheric wise. So that's the one I want to affect. There. Come over here to overlay, double click it. I think I want to add a little stronger overlay to that. Let's see. Am I in the right one? Let me see. Something's not right because I've got it turned off. Duh. So double click it, turn it back on. There we go. That's a little better. Now we go to the one below it, click OK. Go to the next one. There. Go back to my color overlay, bring that down a little more. Okay. Now the last thing I'm going to do is go back to the very top one. I'm going to add a curves to it. Nice and rich. There we go. That's going to come to the fore. That's going to push your eye. It's going to come to the foreground. In fact, if I pull down the lower values, let's pull up the higher values, give it a little more detail. There we go. All right. So I would like also to go the one right below it, Command M for curves. Now it's applying it to a smart object, so it'll be all be non-destructive. And I think I'm going to pull that down a little bit, give it a sense that that's coming to the foreground. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to pull it back a little bit, and I want to pull away some of this fog from the very, very edge. So here's a nice little technique you can use. Let me go to the fog layer. I believe that's at the top, right up there. Okay, and I'm going to hit the E key for the eraser tool. Make sure I'm in my top layer. Okay, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to grab that scattered chalk brush that we used for the fog earlier, and I'm going to pull out the fog from the bases. I want some water coming through the foreground, so I'm just erasing away.
Uh-oh, working destructively, though.
Okay.
Dave Cross would say.
What would Dave Cross say?
He would say you're working destructively because you're not using a layer mask.
Well, that's the intention, is to work destructively with fog, because fog, you're using your hand to kind of paint it in.
I mean, like you're using the eraser tool instead of using a layer mask.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
I'm just kind of making a joke about
it. Dave will get over it.
That's right. Looks good though. Nice moody atmosphere. I like it.
Trying to make it move. The way digital painters work is they use layer masks when necessary. They want to have more control. Now you can see my brush is too harsh, so maybe what I'll do is I'll switch brushes. I'll go back to that soft edge one that I have here, and then do the same. There we go. So bring it down smaller so that I can control this a little better, and then just gently pull it away from the bottom. All right, get a nice little mood in there. Okay, so I'm thinking this haze back here in between these two layers, not that one, but I think it's going to be the one lower down right there. I'm going to bring down its opacity just a little bit. There we go. And play with the mood. I think I'm going to darken this second one over from the front. I'm going to target it. I have a curves already applied to it because it's a smart object, right? So Andrea agrees with me, Andrew, because Andrea loves me. So
That was an old comment, man.
I know it was over. I had to make sure I address it before it was over.
She does say though, so nice. So yeah, she's enjoying the moodiness of this as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. We're getting a little stronger feel. Maybe I'll bring down the highlights a little bit. Just playing around with it just to see where it goes. It's totally non-destructive, so I can always go back and edit this anytime. Um, all right, so I'm thinking, let's go and deal with this fog. So come right up here. That's that fog. I'm gonna go to the very top. Okay. Command T. Oop, wrong layer. Get the fog layer. Command T. Shift, and I can play around with the level of this, right? There we go. And then come in here, filter, blur, and maybe give it a little bit more of a Gaussian blur. I want to keep his character. Just spread it out just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down right about there. Command T, Command T, Shift, and just pull that right about there. That looks good. Okay. All right. So I am thinking that I'm going to go back here to this background color. Let me see if I take this, make it more, yeah, there we go. Make it a little more luminous. Okay. Let's bring in the ship. Let's go to bridge. And in bridge, I have this ship. I'm going to bring it on over and show it to you. In fact, I'm just going to double click on it so you can see it. There's my ship. I already have it on its own layer. Got it off the internet. And I just did a search for ships, and I'm going to put it on in there. So grab this V key, move it on over. Okay. And there it is. So I'm going to close this out. I don't need that anymore. And we're going to take this and we're going to put it, oops, right on top. There she is. Okay, I've got some mess in here. So L key for the lasso tool. And I'm just going to select all that mess that's back here that I didn't see before. Grab that, hit delete key on the keyboard, all done. Look at this magic, Andrea says. See, that's why Andrea is like, she's so much fun. I mean, I mean, everybody's fun, but you know, and so is Andrew. So and let's see, Andrea. Okay, cool, got it. So magic. So I'm gonna pull this one over, hit the V key. Let's come over here. Let's flip this. Edit. Actually, let's make that a smart object. So it's non-destructive. Let's go to my edit, transform, flip horizontal. There we go. That's what I want. So I want to pull this down into the fog. Okay. All right. So it's back into the fog. I'm going to make it smaller. I want to make it look like it's actually coming further from the back, and just reduce it down to something like this here. And then from here, we are going to give this some atmospheric haze, because if it's back here, everything else has the atmospheric haze. The ship has to take on the atmospheric haze as well. So what I'll do is just I'll do this manually. Double click it, color overlay. It still remembered the same color. It did it already. It's already back here. Maybe I won't do it as much. So I can go here, but I won't do it as much. I really want that because it's actually towering up above the lower level haze. Okay, so before, after, you see how it's starting to recede to the background back there. And the last thing we're going to do is going to add a little bit of lens flare. So grab a layer, new layer, change that layer to overlay. I'm going to target the yellow, hit the B key for the brush. Let's see. B key for the brush, right click, and I'm going to want the standard soft edge brush. I want a very soft edge brush. And I'm going to get the yellow, target this, but I think what I'm going to do is give it a stronger yellow color. And the sun's coming from the back right around the corner here. Bringing it big. Let's see how this works. There. Okay, add a little more up here. Probably a little bit too strong of a color. So I tell you what, I'm going to paint it on in. It's coming in from the side, pushing on in a little. That's a little bit too much there. Okay. That color, if it's too strong, I'm going to add a Command U for hue and set. Okay. And I'm going to just take down the saturation to something. There we go. That's a little more acceptable. That's a lot more acceptable. All right. Now I'm criticizing it with my eye here. I'm thinking that foreground rock here can probably be richer. Let's go to my curves. Double click it to get to my curves. And let's say I can, yeah, make it a little richer, a little denser. I'm gonna make that a little denser so your eyes, so definitely you're getting this sense of depth going on back here. And I think what will help separate these two back here is a little more atmospheric haze. So if that one there, I want to select that layer in between the two. Okay. Right click, go get that little fog brush. Make sure white's my foreground color. And I'm going to just slowly paint in there. And I'm going to switch to yellow. See what's happening? That yellow is too strong, so I'm going to pull it down a little less strength on that yellow. So bring it across. See? See how it's creating that sense of depth there between these two? That atmospheric haze is actually going to be coming in between these two rocks. See what's happening? I can do the same thing with the foreground rock, which is this one here. We go to the layer in between the two, right there. Let's turn on my foreground rock. All right, so I'm going to just make it a little larger, a little subtle. See? There we go. Hit the X key to go to white a little bit. Pull that on through. Maybe give this a little bit of a blur. Gaussian blur. There we go. That kind of blends it a little better. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. That one there. So I'm going to give that a little blur. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. There we go. Okay. I'm going to try one more layer for the lens flare right above here. This layer, I'm going to change this one to a, instead of normal, we're going to go to something like color dodge. All right. I'm going to give it a yellow, but give it a little more luminance than yellow. Let's see how this looks. And I want to make sure I'm in the right, I have the right brush selected. I don't. So I'm going to go grab that standard circular brush. Okay. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I want kind of too harsh. In fact, let's see, because of the color dodge, the nature of color dodge, let's see if I can give it a little more color. Pull it up higher. Maybe it'll be better if I give it overlay. Screen could work. No, screen might work a little better. There we go. Kind of like a little lens flare coming off the side here. And I guess this rock right back here, I think that'll be fine. I want kind, let's go to name. There we go. And let's come down and grab. So this rock here, yeah, let's select that one there. Command T, Shift. I want to expand it from the base here. So I want to put my rotation point right at the base. Hold the Alt key and the Shift key, and it'll expand it straight on up. Yeah, that works. Kind of give it a little bit of a different feel. I'm still thinking this fog needs to come up a little bit. So go to the fog, hit the V key on the keyboard, push. There we go. That's what I want. And then just take my brush. Now I can make a new layer, right? So hit the B key for my brush. Make sure I go get my fog brush right there. And go to the X keys. Make sure I'm painting with white. And just add another little subtle little layer right across there. Get that low level haze coming on through. Okay. I think we're done.
Looks cool. Andrew Nichols says, looking amazing. Looks amazing.
It's not finished yet, but it's a quick 1 hour thing.
You should be able to do it in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Oh, yeah, this one I probably should have been able to do in 30 seconds.
Andrea says, look at that haze.
That's right.
Some nice haze going on.
Any questions at all?
Andrea says, that is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, any questions, please let us know. The comments underneath the live. Just some praise from your fans.
All right, so let's just before we go, I'll share with you guys very quickly. Definitely check out the Behance site, which I have here.
Behance, there we go.
There we go.
Behance.net.
Yeah, Behance.net/Stephen Burns. And you get to see some of the other concept style art.
Cool.
All right, something you can come and check out on your own. There's more of it here.
Nice. Could do like sci-fi magazine or book covers, right?
Yes. It's always fun. That's it.
And then let's see, bring us back here. But yeah, great. But let's also let people know where else you are. So you are on Facebook at facebook.com, of course, /Chrome Illusion.
Right. Also, Facebook. I'm the Photoshop users group on Facebook.
There we go.
Let's see. I think
Photoshop
I should have.
users group.
That's right. So definitely come and check this out. I'll
Twitch.
Go through it. And Twitch.
It's twitch.tv /Chrome Illusion.
Yep.
And Twitter. Twitter.com/chromeillusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do well on Twitter? I find it's hard to get engagement on Twitter. I've gotten good
I
followers.
don't even use Twitter.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of be
Yeah,
engaged.
I get a lot of engagement on Facebook.
All right. So Facebook.com/chromeillusion. Do follow Stephen. Yeah, it was fun. Some good stuff.
All right, thanks, man.
So yeah, so thank you so much for being here, Stephen. It was fun. And a couple comments here. Let's see. And Andrea says, I remember all of these. Your work is thebomb.com.
Thank you.
And Andrew Nichols, thank you so much. I'll be using what you have shown in future works. Cool.
You're welcome.
So yeah, thanks everyone for attending. And as usual, I will be posting the recording in the top pinned post of the groups. And I'll also be sharing it with Stephen so he can share it with his followers and fans. So once again, thanks so much, Stephen. It was great. And have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
Andrew says, thank you.
You're welcome, Andrea. Great seeing you again.